tile that goes under our concrete to carry the stuff from the back. Last fall, I set it down. Yes.
Yep, you're on.
I'd like to call the meeting to order for April the 8th, 2025. Would you please rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Please join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Trustee Sheets,
Here.
Trustee Hunter,
Here.
Trustee Good.
Here. Okay, we'll go on to our visitors. Is Hannah on? She,
No.
all right, then we will move on to our team that we have here tonight from Invenergy. Who would like to speak first? Come on up front.
We have a little presentation too, so we'll just hook up to the TV if that's all
Okay,
right.
sure. Before you start, just introduce yourselves and explain why you're here.
Okay. Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Dowdy. I am the project developer for the Pleasant Prairie Solar Project. We're going to be building a solar project that is just out of here right this moment, just south of Broad Street and north of Prop Road, between that area. So we're here to kind of give you a little bit more information as it relates to starting construction activities, what that looks like for you guys, and then also kind of schedule and just start activities in the next few months. And, quick update there.
Yeah, and I'm Tyler Barron, Senior Community Affairs Manager with Invenergy.
I'm Hannah, I'm an associate on the community affairs team. at Invenergy.
I'm Jordan, we're having technical difficulties.
Well, while we're waiting, I had a question from a resident today. What happens with the energy you produce that you don't use?
So all of the energy that we produce, like all of it will go onto the grid. So that means that just like how electricity is works on the grid is that as soon as it like is powered like into the grid, it's able to be used wherever it's needed. So every electron that's produced will just go to the nearest source of power, like source of load that it's needed in. As far as like the determination of like how much power is actually being like sold off, we'll always kind of operate on a like percentage base. So like most of the time our project is 240 megawatts, which means that that's our maximum capacity. But just depending on like the day, we might not get that full capacity just because there's not as much sun in the area, or we might not be able to, inject onto the grid at a certain point because there's already enough power in the area. So it's just dependent on factors like the load and also just the solar resource itself.
And Ohio is a part of the regional PJM grid. And so that's the grid operator that runs in Michigan, Ohio, and down the eastern seaboard. And so even though this project is, located in a particular part of Ohio, that energy could not only in this area, but in the state of Ohio, Michigan needs extra energy to meet a demand that's happening, right? There's a big peak for demand on the southern edge of Michigan, then actually the grid can direct that power there. So day to day, there's different places that the energy from this project comes.
And he also asked me, let's say we had 2 weeks of sunny days and then we have no sun. Do you store it in batteries or?
Yeah. There's no battery storage component to this project. So we would not store any energy. Whatever we produce goes on.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and if we were to ever in the future think about adding a battery component, we would have to permit that in order to add it onto the project. It's not something that we could just decide to build one day.
So this project will go to the Cole Road facility
Yes, the substation.
and then it's dispersed from there.
Exactly right.
Robin running.
Cool. Here, you want to just sit for a second?
Yeah.
Trade. Soft. Awesome.
I might stand over so I can see a little better, sorry.
Sure, so just a quick agenda, we can go down again. Like we said, this is our, part of our project team, for this solar project, and, we are, go down one more. So we are coming from Invenergy, we are the largest American-owned, renewable energy developer. Most of our portfolio is in battery storage, wind and solar power. We do have some natural gas and other forms of energy generation in our portfolio, but the bulk of it is wind, solar, and battery storage. We're headquartered in Chicago, but we have offices all around the world. And we are big developer, but we have a very long history of working in the state of Ohio. We actually permitted and built the first solar project in Ohio in Hardin County. We actually built 3 projects in Hardin County. We just finished the 3rd project about a month ago. We also have multiple projects that are permitted to be built in the state of Ohio at the moment. So we are under construction with a project in Union County. We have a project that's permitted in Logan County, Clinton County, and obviously Franklin County for this project as well.
Yeah, and I can kind of take it from here too. So just kind of before we get into some, construction specific items, just wanted to provide kind of a general like high level overview of kind of how solar technology and solar power really works. So here in the diagram, you can see once solar, sunlight comes from the sun and actually hits the solar panels, it takes that energy and converts it from direct current to alternating current. And these solar panels are actually connected through underground cabling, also called like MV cables and things like that. Which is actually transmitted to then inverters and some of our transformers and power blocks, which is step 2 right there. So once it takes the power from the solar panels through the cables to the inverters, it is then converted from direct current to alternating current. And then at that point, it then passes through underground collection lines and then goes to the substation, which is then increases its voltage and then goes to the transmission lines and then out to everyone's home and business. So very high level overview, not an engineer, so do not ask me specifics on it. But yeah, taking a look here at the different steps of construction. So could be providing just, a very baseline overview of kind of what to expect here as we kick off in, late April, early May and into June. But kind of the first step is really to provide seeding and stabilizing the ground. So, we'll be out there, getting the ground stabilized so we can disturb it and ultimately build facilities. Then we're kind of moving in towards grading. This will be the development of access roads. This is kind of the first step. So a lot of dirt work out there. And then we'll be building the access roads with gravel and, some driveways and laid out yards and things like that. As we kind of move towards, actually building the solar panels and the racking systems, pile driving is kind of that next major milestone. So this is actually when we'll have some, metal and poles on site to really drive the piles into the ground. This right here is what we call a pile driver. Very self-explanatory and kind of what it does, but essentially what they're doing here is they're driving the piles for the racking system, the posts for the racking system, and then also for the fencing as well. And then kind of moving towards the next one, like I said, the racking system, this is where the modules actually are sitting on. And so here at Pleasant Prairie, our racking system will actually kind of tilt with the sun and follow that. So, utilize the sun's light most effectively. And then, one of the other steps here during construction is creating, trenches so we can actually build the underground collection lines, the MV cable. So during this process, you might see some excavators out there. You might also see them during drain tiles. So I know it's flooding out right now and, it's something that we're actually working through and we'll be installing some of that as well. And then, like I've been mentioning, once we install modules is also another term for solar panels. This will be installed and help us produce electricity. And then kind of one of the larger pieces of equipment you'll see around the project and being delivered is what we call inverters or power blocks. These are basically the large transformers that kind of sit in the middle of a solar field. And this is actually where all the solar panels are connected to, which transmits, energy to the substation. And then as we're kind of moving towards the end of the project, there will be some restoration activities. So, our intention here is any ground that we disturb that's outside of the project, scope, we will try to remediate back to its previous condition. So, there'll be some remediation activities, spot fixing areas. And then once we're, operational, we'll be producing electricity and, it'll be dispersed out to people's homes and businesses. I think.
Yeah, and then going into the project specifics. So this is really kind of high level, like very, very recent activities that we're working on right now to get us up to construction, where we're at in that process. So kind of as I mentioned before, Pleasant Prairie is a 240 megawatt project, which is enough electricity to probably have like power 46,000 homes equivalents there. So it's a pretty large project. The inverters that Jordan just showed there, we'll probably have 58 of them. Important to note that those are all going to be internal to the project, so you're not really going to see those at all. Those are all kind of housed to collect from all the solar panels, so we want them to be in the middle of those solar panels so they can collect all that. We're going to have roughly 500,000 solar panels on site, so it's quite a lot to collect all that energy at any given time. With one substation, about 300 construction jobs. So that's not everybody out on site at once. That is kind of across the whole entire site. We usually do construction, we phase it. So we typically go north to south. During that time, we have areas known as laydown yard areas where we'll house a lot of our equipment. Those laydown areas are self-contained on the site. So again, won't be off any of the main roads. You won't be able to see a lot of that construction movement. That's where a lot of construction workers would be located to kind of disperse all the materials as necessary.
Hey.
Yeah.
Were you planning on putting like 500,000?
That's right.
Broadband?
That's right, yeah.
Where you planning on putting them?
Well,
Yeah.
I will show you.
Yeah.
So this is a very high level, like from the sky map. And to kind of orient ourselves here, the top of the map is US Broad Street.
Well, let's get the Google Earth. Let's see that.
We're gonna zoom in a little bit here.
We'll zoom in.
We have some other maps to show you.
But to orient yourself, yeah, the top of the map there is US Broad Street.
Broad Street.
Yeah, that's right. That's the top.
West Broad Street?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Like a
You
Galvin.
go, you go, Pleasant Township goes from here to.
Well, we're in Pleasant and Prairie Township, so
Yeah.
we're.
Okay, well, what meeting should we be at?
Well, I mean,
They might be saying something completely different than you.
well, we're talking at those meetings as well, so like, it's still us.
Okay, Okay.
Yeah,
And that's the Galbraith farm.
yeah, that's right.
oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, all of this project is under our scope of work.
Yeah, if
We
you
will
go
be
to
involved-
West Broad Street, you start towards West Evanston, you see Galbraith stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Finland's most southwest of Franklin County.
That's right, and we're gonna be utilizing that airport hangar area, so that is a decommissioned airport strip right now. That airport runway is gonna be a key internal access route, so we don't have to go and actually construct that. We'll be able to utilize that to get to a lot of our internal inverters. But to orient ourselves a little bit, the very bottom of the panels, that's gonna be crop road. So crop road there, and
Yeah, that's my road.
And to kind of get you a little further here, so this is gonna be Crowder Road down here. It's a little bit south of the map showing. This is Johnson Road right here coming up, this area, and I think Elkhire, Pool Line here. But to orient yourselves a little bit more for the project, we can also for sure circulate all these. So you
Yeah,
can have-
'cause I live at, I own a piece of, going up Grove City Road, then it turns into Crop Road on the other side of Norton Road. And I own, like 13.62 or 67 acres. What I want to do is, parcel off, I've got it fenced in with a 30 by 50 pole barn. And I want to sell that.
Okay,
So I need to know my next step.
sure. Yeah, I would be happy to chat with you after this and
Right.
kind of go through where we're located compared to you. That works.
Right. Yeah, I'm just right down the road. On the other side of Grove City Road, second house.
Okay.
It's 3636 Norton Road. You could probably Google that and see what it is.
Cool, yeah, I'd be happy to chat with you after this.
Okay.
This is a zoom in of more of the Galbraith, land. So this is to the north with Broad Street. The reason we're bringing this up is because this is going to be our main laydown yard area. So the area by that hangar, kind of labeled as the laydown, is gonna be housing most of the material. And bring that in because it is very internal to the site, so it's not gonna be off of all the roads. You're not gonna see all that equipment, being like just housed right next to the center. It's gonna be all internal to the project. Our main point of access right now is off of Mernon Street. So we're gonna be accessing the, airport runway, via Mernon Street, and so that'll be our main point of access. Right now, currently, we are working with Franklin County, so the engineers there, Franklin County, to put together a road use agreement and also a drain tile plan, mitigation plan. So in that language, we're basically putting a drain tile plan together that the county, has to stamp and approve before we do any ground.
You're just gonna go straight into the big Darby, right?
That's, well, not necessarily, but, it has, what my point is, it has to be, a county engineered stamp plan that we are putting together. And to that point, they are also making sure that we have all of the designated roads, which are the roads that we plan to use for this project, up in shape. We have plans in case any, emergencies were to happen, if there are any, kind of impacts to the road that we would need to repair like immediately. We're gonna be setting up an escrow account that the county can use and pull those funds together, for any emergency situations. But that is something that we're like very close to signing with the county, and they're on board with, kind of this.
Well, with that being said, are you guys planning on using Johnson Road for any construction traffic?
Yeah, because that is a township road, right? I'll have to double check the routes. I do know that it was a township road that, with, there's the,
County.
yeah, that's right.
I was told that Johnson is half Columbus. That's the reason. One side of it's got potholes. The other side of Grove City is quite smooth.
I don't know about that, so. Wow.
I'm not being funny, I'm being serious.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah,
But you're nowhere near the city part.
yeah, that's right. Key also on this map is just the project substation. So this is this area where all the power accumulated from across the project will flow to. This project substation will all be, like all the underground collection lines, those will all be underground from the actual project. The distinction with this substation is that to get to the pole substation, which is where we're going to have send the power to, we're going to have an overhead transmission line there. We do have a map of that coming up shortly that I can go through. That substation is going to be contracted out by a company called Motor City, who's very familiar with the pole structure construction. There is going to be 10 pole structures across our transmission line for roughly about 1.5 miles. And then delivering energy to that pole substation, which is owned by AEP, that utility. We already have an interconnection agreement in place with AEP and PJM, who is the grid operator in this area. So we're all set there. That construction and the transmission line, which will be there, we'll start constructing closer to Q3 of this year. So won't see that in the next couple of months here, but we are planning to ramp that up here in Q3. As you can see from the map, so project substation highlighted in red, we are going to have to cross Broad Street with the overhead transmission, and all the lines go through existing easements that we had in place with landowners and AEP to the pole substation.
Are those single pole lines?
Yeah, so it'll be,
They're not a tower.
I guess so, it'll be 10 monopole structures ranging from approximately 90 feet to 130 feet tall. There'll be 345 kV lines, which means that's the level of power they can transmit to the substation. So not necessarily like towers, but similar to what is already coming out of like the pole substation, for example. Running south right now, I think they've got 345 lines already coming out, so very similar to those pole structures.
Hey, all I wanna know is can I sell that piece of property.
Yeah, we can talk after this and
Oh,
answer your more specific question.
I already got ahead of myself with this slide. This is just the main laydown yard. Again, really just want to, voice the importance of having it internal to the project site. That area that is labeled with, or not labeled, but circled in white there, that is going to be our O&M building, our operations and maintenance building. So we have dedicated personnel to be on site 24/7 for the project's life cycle. So all during operations while we are producing energy, they are providing like maintenance to any of the facilities, making sure that we're kind of producing energy at the levels that we want to, making the energy, pushing the energy onto the grid, mowing, maintenance, all that kind of stuff.
Did you say 24/7?
That's right.
So this would be the contractors completed to do.
Yes. So that's right. To get into the project schedule. So this project has already technically commenced construction. And what that means is we've commenced construction with OPSB. All we have done so far is tree clearing activities, which means that we've gotten rid of the trees that we need to remove from the facility. We will be having additional pre-construction meetings with OPSB to go over the different scopes of work that each mobilization has for us. So within our permit, we're allowed to have like multiple meetings. This next meeting is going to cover a couple different things. It's going to cover internal access roads. It's going to cover initial grading of the site across the site. It's going to cover grading across the laydown area. It's going to cover grading on the substation area. It's going to cover driveway access. We're going to need to have that road use agreement and drain tile plan all set to go with the county by that second pre-construction meeting. And we're planning to have that meeting in May to prep for a May mobilization date for that preliminary scope. For like the full mobilization for stuff that Jordan was going through for the full pile driving activities, that'll be closer to the middle of June. So that's when stuff will really start to ramp up as far as it relates to kind of like getting the solar panels on site and stuff like that. But that's kind of high level for initial construction. Like I said, Q4 this year, we will start with the transmission line construction and some of the substation work. We'll also start to get modules on site that'll be housed at our laydown area. That'll push, and the modules will continue to be delivered until probably about March, April of 2026. At that point, we'll kind of install all the panels, do testing and compliance checks with the substation to make sure we can safely put electricity onto the grid. And we'll be finalized with transmission, substation, all the modules, and be operational by the end of 2026.
Is your company the one that done them all out on London 56?
No, that's not us.
Okay, yeah, because that whole thing was turned into a glass window. I mean, for miles.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good
that's
segue.
yeah, great. Do you want to, I can talk about it, but do you want to go for it?
Yeah, so actually, very good segue to like this next portion. You all might be wondering, what is this project going to look like once it's fully built?
I know what it looks like.
Yeah,
It's like a bunch of mirrors.
And that's actually why we've been working with Metro Parks on developing vegetative screening. So our vegetative screening design, which includes, bushes, trees, pollinators, which has like seed and grass and flower mixes in there, will actually be screening the entire project. So there should be, this intention is to really mitigate any views from, the public,
Yeah.
passerbys, non-participating landowners, things like that. So the project is, inclusive of, native species to this specific area. So it's something that we've collaborated with Metro Parks on. And we're in like the final design stages of that too. So, that mobilization will happen, in the fall of 2025. So you'll start seeing some trees and shrubs installed. And then that'll be finished up towards fall of 2026, once we're moving towards operational phases. And then again, that'll be, evergreen trees, bushes, shrubs, things like that.
See, they didn't do that out in Madison County.
Yeah, and every project's different, right? Part of our OPSB requirements is to mitigate any views from, non-participating landowners and things like that.
All right.
All the projects you've done in Ohio thus far, have you used the same standards for glare analysis?
It's a great question.
For the most part, yes. What's different about this specific project is its proximity to some of the airports. So Bolton Airport and then the Columbus Airport are relatively close. So we've worked with, and got FAA designations of no hazard for the project glare analysis itself. So FAA doesn't have any problem with the project site, and Bolton Airfield also confirmed that, the glare for the project was outside of its, scope to be.
So these other projects, the siting board has allowed you to use incorrectly the wrong height for the DOT reference for average viewer height from a driver on the side of the road.
I guess I would have to look at the exact heights that you're referring to, but
So the 1,000 page document you guys submitted to the siting
Sure.
board, assuming you guys are using the same thing across all the projects, you cited that the average car height for the viewer in a car driving alongside the project would be 3.5 feet off the ground. The DOT reference, the statute you guys are referencing for the DOT says that's a minimum. 95% of all passerbys higher than that. That statute was set up to establish the height of a third brake light for vehicles. So you guys are using the worst case scenario to establish your glare analysis for roads. And then again, assuming you guys have been using solar tracking modules and all the projects in Ohio as well, that analysis only analyzes 5 degrees of tilt, east and west. Now the panels can articulate 60 degrees. So you guys are only accounting for 5% of the glare that surrounding property you will see, and maybe 2% of the cars passing by.
so what the glare analysis doesn't do is it does not take into account any of the vegetative measures that we have in place.
It's not supposed to, it's supposed to be worst case scenario. So you guys
Well,
can
exactly,
take it around.
to your point, worst case scenario is a car that's that low. Any higher, like we're taking that into account, right? Okay. So all of the glare that's above that 3.5 foot limit is going to be taken into account in that glare analysis.
But only at 5 degrees.
I would have
You're missing a whole lot of sweets there.
Yeah, you ain't putting in, 20 foot, you're going from this 5 degrees to this, which bounces straight to the car.
I would love to dig into it and have a chat with you afterwards if that works with you. We can kind of,
Been talking to you about it for 2 years, so sure.
okay.
So you said construction has already started, yes?
Just the tree clearing activities. We will be starting, the earthwork, like the actual earth ground breaking, end of May.
Okay. So I guess you guys aren't counting tree clearing as construction activities, or are you?
It does count as construction.
So per the stipulation, you were supposed to notify everyone within 1 mile of the project, whether they are adjacent or not.
Mhm.
No notice has gone out.
We have sent a notice and we have a list of residents around the area that we pulled together with their GIS team. If for whatever reason there was a miss for one of your properties, please let us know like immediately. We will make sure that everyone, you get that notification and you know what's going on. I mean, our intention is not to miss anybody. Okay, yeah.
It's basically the entire township?
I
How many people
actually
here within a mile?
notified myself, so
Say again?
I was notified, in the letter.
My understanding is from the stipulation that you guys were supposed to have acquired all permitting and met all requirements of the stipulation, documentation wise, for construction. Most of them were 30 days before construction, some were even more.
Yes, so to that point, our permit allows us to have multiple pre-construction meetings. And what that does is break out the scope of what we're working through. We have active communication with the compliance officers at OPSP. So we know who those folks are. We have like very regular calls with them. To your point, and it's like for everything that is involving the tree clearing scope, everything for that scope was talked through with the OPSP before we scheduled that meeting. We said, hey, this is the scope of work we plan to do for this. Start of construction is going to involve tree clearing. Here are the conditions that are relevant to this mobilization, and they gave the sign off. And then for the second pre-construction meeting, which we're scheduling right now with them, we're going through exactly what you're talking about. So like that's like some of the glare analysis. That's all the earthwork moving activities. That's anything relevant to the second scope of work. That is getting the drain tile and road use agreement in place with the county. That's getting those driveway permits from the county. That's really involving that second scope of work. And then there's gonna be a third pre-construction conference that is mostly going through like the full projects array and like where the fence line is and where the solar panels are going. And that's the final design packages that we're submitting to OPSB. So we're able to break out the scopes of work into different pre-construction meetings and then meet those requirements for those second meeting or that third meeting. But that's something that's like an ongoing conversation with OPSB. So if they feel like we're out of line on any of them and saying like, hey, you need this for the second meeting, that's something we have to pull in and make sure we know that's 30 days prior to the second meeting. We have to have that before mobilization, but that's a great point. We're talking with OPSB about all that stuff.
Yeah, and
Okay, this solar farm is gonna supply electric to Cole Road.
Mhm.
What does Cole Road supply? What area?
Well, that's the utilities AEP.
Because you're getting close to Hilliard. Are we gonna have a solar farm in our township to supply Hilliard with electricity?
So the way the electricity works is that electricity on the grid, no matter where it is gonna serve the load that's closest to itself. Right, so like, I would kind of compare electricity as like being in a big bathtub of water. Where, homes are little holes in that bathtub that serve, like, that need water. So to the extent that there's a house that needs electricity and it's right on the grid there, it's gonna be served like right there immediately. What PGM does and what AP does is they're able to determine like areas of high load or high need. And they're able to kind of direct some of the flow by curtailing kind of areas based off the price to make sure that load hits the areas that need the power at that time. So there might not be a huge need for power right specifically right in the area, and there's like a huge need in Columbus. So what power will be like, what PGM does is make sure that that power is supplied to.
Well, my concern is, is it gonna benefit the people from Pleasant Township?
I think absolutely, and another part of this project is that we have a pilot agreement in place with the county. So all of the kind of tax money will go back into, Pleasant Township, Prairie Township in the form of, annual payments that will go out each year, kind of as such, yeah.
My electric bill gonna go down?
That's a different story.
That's for us to decide.
It's not.
What this is all about?
Well, yeah, we're using the sun. Why should we have to pay for the sun?
That is, again, I mean, I wish it was, I mean, easier, but
Yeah, that's the part I don't understand. We're gonna have a big solar farm in Pleasant Township that's gonna service Hilliard. I'm not for that.
Cause they don't want that big ugly thing.
That's right, exactly.
It's okay for us.
Exactly. Exactly, that's what I said.
Township gets
You
dumped
go
on.
out Route 56 from London and go towards Mount Sterling. You ain't got nothing but glass. Take all the corn, all the soybeans that has been there for hundreds of years.
Fortunately, this was litigated and decided on a couple years ago.
So they did the same thing with the landfill in front of the county. We didn't even know about that until we started. So
They announced this and we're making the rounds. Getting code.
we had attorneys, we were gonna fight the landfill and they talked to us and said, oh, that's been a done deal for 2 years. You can't touch it.
You gotta say
The
you have,
county never ran it by any residents,
Right.
except
Yeah.
the guy that sold the whole property. And
You gotta
as
say you
far as I know, the township or county, nobody's run this by it. This is the first I've heard of it. I've been here for 30 years. First I heard of it.
well, we're hopeful to, stay out in front of it and, inform everybody. I think, next steps as we get even closer is to kind of have an open town hall for folks and kind of send out invites for people who are interested and really go through more of the questions in a more public forum. People can really answer those, but you have the private team just answer people's questions and, make sure people are aware of what's going on.
yes, you said you have the pilot in place already?
Okay, well, we have We have, yeah, you want to go through?
Yeah, so we have to submit all of our paperwork to the Ohio Department of Development 90 days after COD. So once the project is fully operational, we have 90 days from that operation point to submit all of our compliance paperwork for a pilot. And so our intention is to pursue one, but at the moment, there's no need for us to have one in place because it's not due until after the project's fully.
Is there a requirement to have a pilot do this?
No, there's no requirement by, not every solar project needs a pilot.
So all of the promises that were made in the community early on, trying to get approval and decide on the public need for this, a big selling point was the pilot. That
Well, we're doing a pilot.
all these thousands of dollars are gonna be going to the school and to the library and everything else. You're intending to do a pilot,
We are
It's not
pursuing a
required.
pilot as we speak right now.
but it is
Yeah.
not in place yet, so therefore does not exist.
Correct, because it would not technically exist until after we submit all of our compliance paperwork, which is due 90 days after the completion of the project. And then the Ohio Department of Development reviews that compliance paperwork to then approve the pilot itself. So it takes about 4 months to review all of that paperwork from when we submit. But we met with both fire chiefs today. We need to sign agreements with those folks, for instance, in order to pursue a pilot. We are doing a pilot for this project. We already have an agreement in place with Ohio State, with the Battelle Center. We have to have a educational partnership as part of our compliance for a pilot. We've already signed that. We would submit that, basically agreement to the Ohio Department of Development as part of our overall compliance for the pilot.
What is a pilot? I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's a payment in lieu of taxes.
oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so instead of property taxes going on this project, they get prepay at a set rate that never goes up. I wish I had that deal.
Well, kind of jumping back into it, just another item here is related to our road use agreement with the county. So this is, a quick highlight of some of the roads that will likely be utilized during construction. Again, our road use agreement is still in conversations with the county, so some of this information here may be subject to change, but it'll likely be these major roads. Kind of going through them, it is going to be Darby Creek Drive, kind of to Broad Street and kind of through Crop. So again, the project kind of lives, underneath south of Broad Streets and north of Crop, primarily in between those two streets. And then, some other major roads that we'll be using is Vernon Road and then also Q Line Road. And then, also just Elkry Road, Darby Creek, Johnson Road, and then Cole Road too. During this time, right, there will be signs that indicate, construction traffic, and we'll have good signage out there too. And, there are certain areas where we're allowed to go with certain equipment too, and we'll abide by this throughout construction as well.
All right, we done.
Almost really got Larry.
Talk about mine. My deal.
And so just quickly taking a look at some of our contractors that will be on site, as Eric's mentioned. Motor City has been one of our partners here in Ohio on a few projects. They will be building the substation. And then we're also partnering with Blattner, who we've utilized in Union County. They're really great folks and they're a great partner on this project as well, but those will be the main contractors that you see across the project site. And then just quickly here, we have some contact information we can hand out to all of you. I did want to flag that we have, our project hotline and website. So, there is going to be some updates on the website as we get, quarterly newsletters out to the community and some of our, participating landowners. And then we also do have, a project hotline email and then, a phone number, which calls me. So, happy to answer any questions if we don't get to them today as well. And I think opening up for further questions or.
How many acres is this?
It's around 2,000
We have
acres.
roughly 2,200 acres under lease. The actual fence line itself, like everything, the project's gonna be within, is roughly like 1,200.
How far off property lines does the fence sit?
It depends. So there's 400-foot setbacks from like non-participating residents. There's 100-foot setbacks from a couple roads, 100-foot setbacks from non-participating parcels. Just depends on kind of where things are project.
And again, there will be like vegetative screening too in those areas. So
Our farm backs up to the part of Johnson area. So
What happens if you disturb tilage?
Yeah, so that is actually something that we've been working with, our engineering team on site today. I know Eric was out there. But if we come in contact with drain tile and we damage it, it's our intention to fix it on the spot there. So if there is any damage to drain tile, which, we've worked in Union County and we've had kind of the same issues there. They'll fix it on the spot and make sure that any damage and property is remediated back to its current state.
And that's also being talked through with the Franklin County drainage engineers right now. So we're going through our proposed plan, our proposed reroutes of mains and petition ditch areas. So that includes and encapsulates any drains or private laterals that we hit and not expected, not a part of the plan that we have to maintain and make sure.
When you're doing the pile driving, how are you going to know until there's a problem that you've damaged that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's something that, I think we are continuously getting better at learning. We'll know the majority of our landowners and historical information and just the county's information where, those big mains and laterals would run. There is a chance that we hit some of the smaller stuff. And the plan that we're putting together kind of takes that into account and makes sure that none of those impacted tiles would negatively affect the water flow, around the projects to adjacent neighbors.
I'm not concerned about the drainage at your project. I'm concerned about the farmers that have adjacent property to that will affect.
Yeah, I mean, we're with this agreement with the county are basically, obligating ourselves to make sure that the drain flow in and out of the project remains relatively the same and that adjacent property owners are not affected at all.
What assurance down the road are we going to have that will be taken care of if a farmer that has adjacent property has a water damage issue?
So contractually, that'll go back to this road use agreement that we'll have with the county. So that'll obligate us to make those repairs and make sure that those are satisfied. To the county's, review, they have the ability to go on to our project site and review some of the project mains and laterals. So if there is a future problem, I think the first step is to identify where that would be. And then we would work with our maintenance team to make sure that it is fixed as soon as we can.
Trustee Sheets?
Yeah.
3 years ago, before approval of the project, the county held a meeting over at the Metro Parks area, by Buffalo there. And they were inviting everyone that had historical maps of any drainage to submit the maps to Invenergy and to the county so they could try to work on basic knowledge of where some of these tiles are at. I don't know if anyone from this township was up on those notices, but if you know anyone you think might be close to the project, might be affected, or it's too late, if they've got any historical records. But it was a big deal. We had maps in from all over the place, but I don't know how many people came from down here.
So if you do hit a sewer tile, you got sewage back in the houses, how many days?
Yeah, I don't anticipate that we'll be hitting sewer tile necessarily, but drain tile and things like that maybe will be impacting. Again, right now we're in the process of reviewing a lot of that information that we've gathered from community, participating landowners, and then just verifying that with the county. I don't anticipate us, hitting sewer or anything like that, but on the off chance that we do, we'd definitely be working with, the community to figure out how we can fix it.
Anything else?
Thanks, everyone. We'll be around for the meeting, so if we want to ask questions afterwards, we'll be around.
Thank you for the presentation. We will. Okay, tell me here. Then we'll move on to Paula, financial reports.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the bills for tonight was $22,999.53. The payroll that was for today was 57,467.13. The payment went to Aetna for medical insurance premiums was $28,054.98. Deposits for HSA went to CME for $285. There was a payment to Internal Revenue Service for $8,827.66. There were payments to public employees retirement and also police and fire that totaled $42,229.50. And payment to deferred comp for $660. There was a couple issues with checks. There was an invoice I received. It was just a statement and it said that we had invoice from last year that was past due. I did call the company and she invoiced me or emailed me copies of the invoices, and so they're included in that. I did notice there's a bill in tonight's bill. It's from Certus Site. And on its bill, it was a minimal amount, but they had included sales tax, so I deducted that sales tax. But when I was reviewing files to make sure on payments, I came across an older bill from them back in March, and it was not broken down, but it had a grand total of $907.29. So I think that needs checked into, because if they purchase tax on a small bill, then I'm guessing they may have charged us.
Who's that for?
The chief will have to explain.
Fire extinguishers, I believe. I'll follow up with that. Because actually, I just got a thing from them asking updated information and tax stuff for that reason.
And then previously back in March, we had made a payment of $8,498.42. It was to that logistics. It was based on that quote from logistics. And is that radios?
That was Grove City.
Okay.
That's Grove City.
Well, it has something to do with Grove City, but the quote came in from logistics. I made the check out to Grove City because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And then the chief had asked me for a purchase order. I think it was last week. So I made the purchase order out after the fact to Grove City, but in the bills or information that was laying on the desk when I came in tonight, they returned that check and said that's not them. So
That was actually, that was Grove City, I believe, who returned the check.
Right.
Because Grove City couldn't take the check, and the logisticals are the ones that do the billing for them. Because I think you had brought up that in the past you had paid that, and I followed up with that and they said yes. And that's, I think that was an email that we
Yeah,
had.
we always pay Logicalis separately. We don't
Yeah.
pay it to Grove City for
Yeah,
Grove City to
so-
pay them. They just,
well, the chief's note on it said
Right.
Grove City,
I
so
remember
that's, yeah, so that's what I paid him. So I will need to void out the purchase order I just made to Grove City and void this check out, and then we'll reissue that to the other company. And back in January, we had a duplicate charge on the charge card for $4,538.36 from that striker. There's not been a credit or a repayment back on that yet. So
I talked to them today and they'll be resending that. They'll be sending that check back.
okay, because I just gotten this statement and it's in tonight's bills, and I noticed it hadn't came back through yet, so. So that's pretty much everything I think I have on bills.
I'll make a motion to pay our expenditures. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Roll call?
Trustee Sheets?
Yes.
Trustee Hunter?
Yes.
Trustee Good?
yes.
And I didn't forget. Okay, we'll go on to department reports. Robert?
We had a couple good rain and wind events. We went around if we could do anything with the water that was backed up, we did. With the wind, luckily, we had no damage hardly whatsoever. No big trees down, anything like that. We've been doing equipment maintenance, just mainly getting the mowers ready because we're gonna have to start mowing next week. It's the way this grass is growing already. We're switching to summer operations, and while we were doing that, we were cleaning up our salt spreaders, putting the plows away. And the spreader box that is on truck 21, once we got everything washed up, we realized the auger was rusted in half. So I went ahead and ordered a new one, and we've got it here already. We'll get that installed. I'd rather do that sooner than later, so we're not rushing around with a snowstorm coming in next winter, next fall, and having to do that. We started on cleaning up the cemetery, getting rid of the reeds and grain blankets, all the above. We had to stop for today because it was still pretty squishy over there, and we'll get back to that tomorrow. Hopefully it'll dry up within or give it an extra day. I got an estimate on a new backhoe bucket. After we got that speed shoring box, I got thinking about it. Our one bucket is a 24, then our next biggest one is like a 41 inch. And when I said something to the guys, the one guy says, "You expect me to sit in a 2-foot hole?" And there's not enough room to work. So I'm in the process of ordering a 30-inch bucket that'll give us a little extra room. I got a quote from Southeastern Power Equipment, and it is for $3,146 or $45.76. I'd like to see if the board would approve that amount for me.
I'll make resolution 24. Purchase the 30-inch bucket for the backhoe at a cost no more than $3,145.76. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter.
Yes.
Trustee Good.
Yes.
Did you happen to check to see if you find anything used in the used line?
We've tried that in the past, and we've never had any luck trying to find a used one. Because usually if you find a used one, it's for older backhoes that don't match up, and it's just, they're hard, few and far between. So then my final thing is, I think it was a meeting or so ago that Bart Overlay on Darby Boulevard was wondering how the pairs and the cul-de-sac's gonna get installed back there. Well, I spoke to him, and I did tell him that I've got a guy coming out tomorrow to give me an estimate on, it's the exact same thing that I did out on Rob Roy Lane. It's like a mastic crack filler material. And these are a lot smaller than Rob Roy, so I mean, it should hopefully not be that crazy price wise, because Darby Boulevard is kind of a longer one, but I'll see what he comes up with. It may be something I have to budget for, but that's all I have.
On the next page,
Oh,
we had that from last meeting.
I will get something together for the next meeting.
Are you aware of it? Do you have the information?
Well, yeah, I did get that email. But yeah, I'll put something together and we can get that signed at the next meeting, and I can run it in there. But more or less, it's the entire process I went through for Timberlake. I've got to start over for this next run, but we did get approved for that first section. So,
Great.
yeah, I mean, that's the cost of that. That's the only way we're probably going to be able to do it, is just keep chipping away at it over time. Hopefully keep getting grant money. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Okay, fire department, Chief Whiting.
Yep, I think 31 is still brawn. They are actually been painted. They were gonna put it on a chassis, so hopefully in the next week or so, we will get it back and get it striped and back in service. ordered parts for engine 232. We had to wait for, because it's a Pierce, trying to figure out exactly what we needed, and working through All American was kind of a challenge getting what we needed. Grass fighter, we still have a list of minor repairs, but once we get engine 232 squared away, then we'll work on some of the other smaller things we need to take care of. Personnel, no issues. Equipment, no issues. Training, due to all the lovely high water we've had, we've been able to get out on the Darby and have some really good school, fast water school. So that's been the plus side of the ring for that. Everything else, I don't think it's that great, but that's been a good thing for us. Station wise, storage area, we waiting on bids. Township hall, the bathroom, still waiting on bids. Done a number of building inspections. That's always an ongoing thing. Billing, no issues. Under grants, renewed our SAM membership through the federal government, which we have to have for any grants that we do. And then dispatching, locution, Jackson Township is a project manager for that. They're going to send us an MOU. The initial cost is approximately about $31,000 with an annual cost of $2,600 a year. And that's to update our dispatching that Grove City's going to, that they're requiring us to go to for the dispatching. And pretty much everybody around the county and everywhere else has gone to the locution thing. So we're kind of locked into that. I looked at some other options, but we really don't have any options. So it's a significant cost, but I think the way the CAD systems, computer aided dispatching systems are changing, I think we're locked into that no matter where you go with and who you go with.
When will that 31,000 be due?
Probably once we get an MOU, I'm guessing probably in the next month, within the next month, I'm guessing. So they're going to get an MOU for us. Once we get that MOU, and then I'll get an exact cost too. They got a call in trying to get an exact cost. They hadn't got that to me. It's the same thing. Prairie did the exact same thing. They signed an MOU with Jackson because locution only wants one group to be the main project manager. They didn't want to have to deal with multiple agencies. So Prairie did the exact same thing. And then every year we will pay that annual fee to Jackson, and then they will pay that to locution.
What is that annual payment for?
It's any upgrades or anything like that.
So that's just for the locution. That's not what we're already paying,
Right.
above and beyond what we already pay,
Yes, it's above and beyond what we already paid.
which is what did you say?
Yeah, 2,200 dispatching.
So the 31,000 is going to be, that's the initial hit. And then the 2,600 is going to be maintenance and upgrades every year that we'll pay.
Does that 31,000 include any equipment that we're going to?
It does include hardware. Yeah.
And just as a note that dispatching through Grove City, they came up with a formula so it goes up a little bit every year. So not a lot, but the monthly payment does go up each year.
That's all I have.
Anything else for Chief? Okay, Smith. Kelsey, the zoning enforcement, got a hold of us and she's been working on 3575 Harrisburg, Georgesville Road and 7174 London Grove Road. She's been working with, talking to the prosecutors about those. Any other old business? New business. Several meetings ago, we were talking about paying off the fire truck. And Paula got the figures for us, so I would like to make resolution 25 to pay off the fire engine, which the next payment will be due on June 1st, 2025. So I'll make the resolution to pay it on or before June 1st, 2025 at a cost of $234,146.44 with any necessary adjustments that Paula may deem that we would need. Do I have a second?
I think you need to say that that's coming out of the tax.
Okay, and add that it will come out of the capital improvement fund. By doing this, we will be saving some interest. We probably somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000.
Also,
Roll call,
Trustee Sheets.
yes.
Trustee Hunter.
yes.
Trustee Good.
Yes.
And I will contact her again and ask her what the earliest is we can pay it off and might save a little bit more.
Every penny helps. Your new business.
I attended the policy development, then, or the Sway, or Bureau hosted. Nothing.
Anything else? For announcements, I'd like to remind everybody of the spring cleanup on April 25th and 26th. How's that going? Okay, we'll move on. Paula?
Okay, I don't have a whole lot. We had received some emails from the medical insurance agent, and if people have not done so, they need to fill out the form fire update and for medical information that has to be done by April 16th, I believe. And he sent out a list, and even if people aren't using it, they still, I guess, need to go in and fill it out at least to say, I'm not included in this group.
I'm on the list, but
I did see a checkbox that you can check if you're not.
yeah, you just hit waive if you're not
Right,
doing it. So you don't have to do a bunch. You just log in, you verify your information, hit waive.
But anybody that is planning on taking it, they definitely need to fill this out. They received newsletter from the State Township Association. And in the small print, it said that it's sent to the fiscal officer and to please copy. I guess I assumed you guys were getting this with the magazine. So it just has variety information in it. So I'll copy that for you guys. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot. Most of it was the emails and things were just informational type newsletters, that type of thing. That was on insurance. I did receive our amended certificate of estimated resources from the county auditor's office. And I will make copies of that and provide that to you guys and the department heads. And there was information came in from the state auditor's office in the form of an informational bullet, and it's stating that because hours that are kept on the books for people like for vacation, sick leave, all that type of thing is a liability, and it can be quite an extensive liability for the township, that we now had to include that information in on our financial statements that go to the state auditor's office. So, and that's all I have.
Anything else for Paula? Okay, there's speaker sheets. Eugene,
Sure, you don't mind, I'll sit here.
go right ahead.
Okay, I'm a 42-year Pleasant Township, grew up here. Grew up on 5252 Harrisburg, Georgesville. I currently live in the Oakhurst Knolls neighborhood, 22 years. But see, it's after 8, so I'll be brief, but over a period of 2 months, we had an opportunity to get underground internet fiber. What's the technology? Yeah, thank you. So AT&T came in our neighborhood starting in January and installed fiber optics throughout the neighborhood. Unfortunately, they did it on private laterals and they didn't know that they were there because they were unmarked. So unfortunately, they hit a sewer line backyard, and I've been a week where I can't use my toilet, I can't take a bath, nothing. I've got sewage backup in my basement. So I called AT&T and they gave me a construction company that they subbed it out to. And I had sent the letter to you guys and kind of briefly read it. The construction company that subbed that and did the boring, I guess it's called, said that there was no marking for private laterals. They knew where all the main sewer lines coming down Norton. They know where the mains are, but the laterals were unmarked. So I called Franklin County Sanitary Sewage and talked to a Ryan Sowers, he's a upper management. And he looked at the layout of the neighborhood and he says, I have records of all the main lines. That he said when that neighborhood was developed, it started in 1965, where they laid all the clay tiles. They don't really have records of that. He said a lot of that stuff is net a dumpster. I said, well, that's nice. He said, well, technology, paperwork, you got to get rid of stuff after 60 years, right? So they have no records of private laterals, yet they go into the neighborhood and don't ask to go on private property and end up collapsing sewer lines. So my neighbors and I are going through a situation of frustration, aggravation. We don't really have any help us, but I'm pretty upset about this. But the county told me that I have to get that fixed and I need to hire a private contractor, pay the contractor to fix the lateral, and AT&T should reimburse me. But what about my basement? What about my carpet, my tile, furniture? I got a finished basement. And I was walking in sewage Friday morning.
Have you contacted your insurance company?
I did, and I started a claim, but I mean, they can't do anything right now because even if they come in my house and replace stuff, I still got sewage backing up. So I had to cap it off. I can't use any water in my house because I took a look at it and since Friday, it hasn't went down.
I was wondering if your insurance company would like have an advocate to deal with AT&T.
Well, they said until AT&T gets somebody out there to look at it, they can't do anything. They told me it'd be 7 to 10 business days before they can do anything. So then I called Eco Plumbers. Eco Plumbers said they couldn't do they've got something where they use pressure. I'm sure what it's called. Jet it. They said we could jet your line out, but since there's a tile collapse, it's not going to get past the tile. So the jetting does nothing. He said, if anything, the jetting would blow back in your basement. You don't want that.
Well, but if they were to, well, They would just get it, and they only went in so far, you have a real good idea where it's collapsed. So,
But the problem is, there's 4 neighbors on that lateral.
oh,
The lady on the end got hers fixed because the sewage runs underneath Pebble Beach on down, it's running that direction. So her section was repaired, but there's multiple collapses. So I won't ramble anymore, but I just want to make that known. And if anybody here knew a contractor that would come out and assess that, because it's all underground, there's no visual about it. The only visual is the damage in my basement and smelling like a porta john. So I am just livid, and I've lived out there 22 years and never had anything. It's horrible. So that's my soapbox for the day. So that's all. If anybody's got any suggestions, I'm all ears.
My first suggestion is I'd call TV station.
6 on your side.
All of them,
All of them, yeah.
somebody will come out.
Well, real quick, this construction company, it's Fortress. Unfortunately, the damaged pipe was unregistered with the city as a result, not marked by the utility companies. No locations were evident.
We could have found that before they even done it.
That they said lack of registration increases the risk if impacted during underground boring operations. Conducted strictly within legal easement. We are fully understanding the frustration and inconvenience in this situation. But unfortunately, since the damage stems from a private lateral line, we regard that we cannot assume responsibility for further costs related to this matter. They damaged it, but they won't pay for it because it's private and they don't have any records. They said it was unmarked. The only little markings in my backyard were the electrical lines. His AP came out there and marked where the electric is. Because God forbid they hit electric. But no little green flags. Green is sewage, right?
either sanitary or storm sewer.
Blue is gas, red is electric. But these people that damaged it are not, they're not responsible for it because it was not marked. And that's why I brought up the thing with you guys. I'm like, geez, oh man. They said those tiles were put in 65. Neighborhood was planned out in 65. So all these sewer drains and all that were put in before I was even born. Then they put the neighborhood in. But they have records. This company has records of the main lines. They're not going to hit a main line. But they said there is no record of laterals. But they mowed through the backyards anyway. So why can they come on private property, but nobody else can? You know? So anyway, I'm living. So that's it.
Did you call the health department?
Yeah, I didn't, I called Hugo, and they said they don't deal with residential, but they notified EPA about it. But EPA knows it, the sanitary engineers know it, you guys know it. But nobody can get on the property unless I hire a private contractor to do the work and then I get reimbursed. I'm not gonna give, they'll stick it to me. How much is a 300-foot lateral to put in that accommodates 4 homes? How much is that? I can kiss my backyard goodbye for the summer. It's gonna be, it's horrible. So anyway, I'm just kind of venting, but I was hoping I could get somebody. I've notified my insurance company, they're well aware. But this is all since Friday, and all I get is voicemail, case numbers. I haven't talked to a live person except a couple times. I get emails. They want me to do all the administrative work. They want pictures. They want this, they want that. But I need some live person on the phone.
would be expensive, but it sounds like you need an attorney.
I didn't need any of this.
Well, yeah, but if everybody around you's still broken,
Well, no, just a few homes that are on the lateral. Then my neighbor on the other side of me, Pebble Beach, he don't have any problem because he said that AT&T knocked on his door and he brought him home. He said, that's what I should have did, but I wasn't home.
so we just went ahead.
They went ahead. So,
Because they have to be responsible. They did it.
right. So, I mean, I could hire an attorney, but it's time. Time's important. And I went down there today and it smells like it's
Yeah.
nasty. And also, I gotta worry about, what is it, black mold? I gotta worry about that now. I mean, I've sprayed stuff and tried to do everything on my own, but my insurance company knows about it. They're sending an adjuster out. But should I pay a $4,000 deductible for homeowners and do this and that? Or when AT&T get, still working on the case, we're working on it.
So yeah, they'll end up having to pay whatever that you did.
I know, but I mean.
Yeah, you can't take a shower and all that, you know?
Your insurance should go after AT&T or their contractor for any, just like car insurance, they would go after the other person.
Right.
But that doesn't help you in the immediate, I understand.
No, it's not helping now.
Right, I understand.
So.
That's,
it.
is it the single line that comes directly from your house to the main?
That single line from my house to the lateral is clogged. Because when it gets to the lateral, which goes across the backyard under the road, it's collapsed in multiple spots. It has to be because my sewage in my basement, I looked at it, it has not went down. So I know from my house to that lateral, it's plugged. And then I had Eco Plumbers come out, they said, we can't snake it. Because we're just gonna end up busting tile at the end. And he said, the whole thing of it is, the way that my basement, sewage is where it comes, in the house up. And it's about, I don't know, maybe 6 inches in diameter, but it does so many turns and stuff. He said he wouldn't be able to successfully get in there and get it all the way out to where that lateral is. So he wasn't able to help.
Quick point. So we might know a small drain tile contractor. His name's Kenny Williams. He does work up in Hardin County and he helps consult with our Hardin County project on just like drain tile expertise. I can give you his contact. It's him and his wife. I know he's kind of scaling up his operation. And it's like an hour and a half away, so I think he'd probably be in range, but let me shoot you his contact after this and see if he would be able to help at all. I'm not 100%, but I figured something said enough.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.
Good luck.
You know, it's still that legal representation.
Yeah.
Somebody to represent you,
Okay.
your best interest.
On individual, but I mean, well. Now, if I, did the due diligence of getting an attorney. If I had out of pocket for the attorney, is AT&T gonna reimburse me for attorney fees?
That's what your attorney will tell you. That's what you hire from.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? Go ahead.
Let me see, could I, sell 3 acres of my property? It's zoned, agricultural, but I fenced it in. It's got a 30 by 50 pole barn on it.
The zoning, wasn't it?
Yeah. You'd have to call Franklin County zoning
Okay, well,
about
they
that.
said I had to call and see whether you guys approved me to sell that so somebody can build a house on.
That Franklin County zoning takes care of those issues for this township.
Oh, okay. So Franklin County zoning,
Yeah, it's-
Yeah,
Economic-
economic
plan.
development.
okay. Because it's 13.6 acres and it's like 3 acres I've got.
Did you happen to call me today?
No.
Or somebody called about zoning today
Okay.
and I gave them a phone number.
that's half my phone calls.
So Franklin County zoning,
Franklin County
planning and
economic,
development.
economic planning. and development.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they'll.
do you have a number with you? Robert,
Well, they'll let you know if you're allowed to do that.
do you have their number?
I do believe it's 525. I do not. I thought I could remember.
When I got stuck in my head.
I know.
That's not it.
So I need to call them to get it, from, agricultural to residential, right? It's got like maybe 300 feet road footage on Norton Road. And then my house. Then I
That's who
got-
you would want to call.
Okay. Yeah, they said go to your township and see whether
Did you
they'll
look at
approve
their
me
names?
selling this and somebody can build a house on it.
Oh, I think Nancy got it.
Mine's on the number.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? We've been getting phone calls and some issues. Do you think we should have an executive session? I will move to go in executive session according to Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1 for the purpose of discussing some personnel items. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter.
Yes.
Trustee Good.
All right.
We're up.
Under the Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G, I move to come out of executive session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
And I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, trustee Sheets.
Yes.
Trustee Hunter, yes. Trustee Good.
Yes.
At 1:05.
All right.